Hey there! Today we're going over part 3 of the 2014-2015 TMSCA General Math Test number 1. Let's do it. Alright. 7 plus 9 plus 11 equals 11 plus 9 plus 7 illustrates which property correctly? Alright, so when you have an addition problem like this, so 7 plus 9 plus 11 is equal to 11 plus 9 plus 7, all they've done is they've just reversed the order of the way that things are added. So when doing that, that is called the commutative property. And that's your answer. Next, what is the 31st term of the sequence? -4, -2, 0, 2, 4, 6. Alright, so this is an arithmetic sequence in which it's going up by 2 each time. I actually have a full video just about arithmetic and geometric sequences, and that will be in the pinned card at the top. But anyways, let's continue with this problem. So in this sequence, we have -4, -2, 0, 2, 4, 6. So that lets us know that each time it's going up by 2, or positive 2. So knowing this, we can solve for the 31st term. So the formula for this is f of n, so in this case n is our 31st term, so n is 31, is equal to f of 1, which is the first term. So in this case, the first term is -4, plus d, which is the common difference. In this case, it's adding 2 each time, so plus d, which is 2, times n minus 1. And we know n is 31. So if we fill this out, it becomes f of 31 is equal to -4 plus 2 times n minus 1. That becomes f of 31 is equal to -4 minus 2 plus 2n. That means f of 31 is equal to -6 plus 2n. Alright, now we can solve. So we know that our n value is just 31. So 2 times 31 becomes 2n. So 2 times 31 is 62. So now we have -6 plus 62. -6 plus 62 is the same thing as 62 minus 6, which equals 56. And that's your answer. Next, factor completely 36m to the power of 3 plus 18m. Alright, so 36m to the power of 3 plus 18m. So if we are to factor that, we just have to take out whatever is in common and bring it outside this equation. So 36m cubed plus 18m. Alright, right off the bat, we can see that if we take away an m from the 36m cubed and the 18m, it becomes m times 36m squared plus 18, because we've taken away 1 out of 3 m's and we've taken away 1 out of 1 m's. So we're just left with 36m squared and 18. Next, we can bring out the 18 itself, because 18 times 2 is 36. So we can bring out this 18 in both of these, and it becomes 18m times 2m squared plus 1. And that's your answer. Next, Lucy wants to arrange her spices in a line. She has 6 different spice containers. How many ways can Lucy arrange her spices? Okay, so when given a question like this, and they're asking you a certain amount of items can be arranged how many ways, that is factorial. Basically, a factorial is just you're multiplying the number given, so in this case 6, times every number before it. So 6 factorial is just 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So that's just 6 factorial. So to solve this, all you have to do is just solve for this. So 6 times 5 is 30. 30 times 4 is 120. 120 times 3 is 360. 360 times 2 is 720. And 720 times 1 is 720. So we're left with 720, and that's your answer. Next, simplify 81x squared over 27x to the power of -3. Alright, so when solving this problem, we can see that 81x squared can be written as 81 times x squared over 27 times x power -3. Alright, so 81 over 27. That's just 81 divided by 27, which is 3. Next, x squared over x power -3. Okay, so when Doing division with two x values or two variables and with powers, alright? All you have to do is subtract the bottom power from the top power. So in this case, it's just 2 minus negative 3, which is just 2 plus 3, which equals 5. So it becomes 3 power 5. So now we have this 5. So now we do x power 5. And we have this 3 as well, so we get 3x power 5, and that's your answer. Next, what is the x-intercept of the graph? What is the x-intercept of the graph of the linear equation 3y equals 7x minus 42? Okay, so when solving a problem like this, it's actually very simple because what x-intercept is just when the x is equal to some number and the y is equal to 0. Alright, so that's on the grid, right? Where the line crosses the x-axis, because wherever it crosses, the y has to be equal to 0. So if we just make y equal to 0, so in this case 3 times 0 is equal to 7x minus 42, because 3y can be written as 3, 0. We can solve for this. So 3 times 0 is just 0. So it becomes 0 is equal to 7x minus 42. Okay, now that means we can bring this 42 to the other side by adding it to both sides of the equation. So 42 and 42. So our new equation becomes 42 is equal to 7x. So that means x is equal to 6, and that's your answer. Next, multiply 3m minus 2n times 2m minus 5n. Alright, so this is called binomial multiplication. So 3m minus 2n times 2m minus 5n. Alright, so all we have to do is multiply each term by each term. So what that means is 3m times 2m and 3m times negative 5n. And then negative 2n times 2m and negative 2n times negative 5n. And then we just add the like terms. So let's solve. So first, 3m times 2m. That's just 6m squared. Because when multiplying two m's, it becomes m squared. Next, 3m times negative 5n. So that means it's just 3 times negative 5 mn. So that's negative 15 mn. So negative 15 mn. Next, negative 2n times 2m. So that is just negative 2 times 2 and m times n, which is negative 4 mn. So negative 4 mn. And then the negative 2n times negative 5n. So when multiplying two negatives, it becomes positive. So negative 2n times negative 5n is positive 10n squared. So 10n squared. Alright, now we just add this all together. So we can combine these two terms. So we have 6m squared plus 10n squared. And we always want to write it in order of the letters. So next we have negative 15 mn and negative 4 mn. So when adding these two together, it's just negative 15 minus 4. And that's negative 19. So negative 19 mn. And since mn is between m and n, we write it in the middle. So we finally get 6m squared minus 19 mn plus 10n squared. And that's your answer. Next, 3 power 5 minus 3 power 3. Alright, so we can do this very simply by just subtracting the difference. So 3 power 5 minus 3 power 3. So 3 power 3 is 3 cubed, so that's 27. Next, 27. So we have 27, which is 3 power 3. Now we're just going to multiply 27 times 9, because that's 3 power 2. So if we multiply it by 3 power 2, we would get 3 power 5. So 27 times 9. 27 times 9 is 243. Alright, now we have 243 minus 27, and that gets you 216, and that's your answer. Next, simplify negative 12 times the square root of 48. Alright, so in a problem like this, where the number inside the square root, so in this case 48, is not a perfect square, meaning it cannot easily be divided by a rational number, that means we'll have to break it down. So negative 12 times square root 48. So 48 can be written as 16 times 3. So we can write this as negative 12 times root 16 times 3. Alright, so 16, can we take the square root of that? Yes, that's 4. So we can bring the 4 outside, and multiply it times negative 12. So now it becomes negative 48 root 3. Alright, now can root 3 be broken down anymore? No, because it's a prime number. And can we bring it outside? No, because it's not a perfect square. So that's your answer. Next, using the picture of the circle P below, if arc BC is equal to 104, then the measure of angle BAC is equal to what? Alright, so our arc BC is just from here to here. And the angle of BAC, so that's what we're trying to find. Alright, so this is called an inscribed angle because it's in a circle. If it was a central angle, that means it would be here. But it's not that because it's not on the center point. So this is called an inscribed angle. So to find the measure of an inscribed angle, you just take the measure of the arc, which is 104 degrees, and divide it by 2, which is 52 degrees. And that's your answer. Next, find the discriminant of the quadratic equation y equals 2x squared minus 3x plus 1. So to find the discriminant of a quadratic equation, we need to know the formula a bit. So negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So that is your quadratic formula. So whatever is in the square root is just our discriminant, but we don't take the square root. So our discriminant is just b squared minus 4ac. So that's how we found our discriminant. So now let's plug in the numbers. So b. So our b value is the second term. So that's negative 3 because that's the second coefficient. So negative 3 squared is 9. 9 minus 4 times a times c. Alright. So in this case, c is the third number, which is 1. So we don't need that anymore. It's just a, whatever a is. In this case, a is the first coefficient. So that's 2. So it's just 4 times 2. 4 times 2 is 8. So we have 9 minus 8, and that equals 1. And that's your answer. Next, solve for x. 1/5 of x plus 1/3 of x equals 1. Alright, so to solve for this, we first have to bring down these fractions of x into the common denominator. So we have 1/5 and 1/3. So if we multiply 1/5 by 3 and 1/3 by 5, it brings them under the common denominator of 15. So that becomes 3/15 plus 5/15, which is 8/15. So that means if 3/15 of x plus 5/15 of x is equal to 8/15 of x, that means 8/15 of x is also equal to 1, because that's what we can see right here. So now that we know that 8/15 of x is equal to 1. Alright, so now that we've solved this, how do we solve for what x is? Well, we just multiply the reciprocal. The reciprocal is just for flipping the order of the fraction. So the denominator becomes the numerator, and the numerator becomes the denominator. So 8/15 is now 15/8. So 15/8, but we don't just put it right here. We have to multiply it times 1. However, multiplying by 1 is just making it the same thing. So 15/8. Now all we have to do is solve 15 divided by 8. So 15 and 8. Alright, so 8 does not go into 1, so 0. 8 goes into 15 once, so 1, and then we subtract 8. That leaves us 7. Now we can't just do the remainder because we have to solve exactly here. So we have to bring down an imaginary 0, I like to call it. So we bring this down and we have 70. 8 goes into 70 8 times. So 8 times 8 is 64, so we subtract 64 and we're left with 6. Next we bring down another imaginative 0. 8 goes into 60 7 times, so 7, and we subtract the 8 times 7, which is 56. Now we're left with 4. Now we bring down our last imaginative 0, and we have 40. 8 goes into 40 5 times exactly. Alright, so if 8 goes into 40, we can write 5 up here, and we can subtract 40. That leaves us 0, so we get 1.875, and that's your answer. Next, what is the sum of the coordinates of the center of the circle with the equation x minus 6 squared plus y plus 19 squared equals 4? Alright, so this is actually very simple, even though it might seem hard, because the coordinates of the center of the circle is just these numbers, but we flip the sign. So negative 6 becomes 6, and positive 19 becomes negative 19. So these are the coordinates. So all we have to do is add them. So 6 minus 19 equals negative 13. And that's your answer. Next, which of the following below is not a trig function? Alright, so we have sine. That is a trig function. We have associative. That is not a trig function, but let's keep looking at the other one. Cosine, that's a trig function. Tangent, that's a trig function. And secant, that's a trig function. So associative is just a property of math. It's not a trigonometry function, and that's your answer. Next, what is the product of the coordinates of the solution to the system 3x equals y minus 8 and y equals 6x plus 2? Alright, so to solve this, we can use the method of substitution. So we know that y is equal to 6x plus 2. So if we substitute this value of 6x plus 2 in this equation for y, we can make this 3x is equal to 6x plus 2 minus 8, which means 3x is equal to 6x minus 6. Now we can bring this 6x over, so negative 6x, and it becomes negative 3x is equal to negative 6, which means x is equal to 2, because we can just divide out the negative 3. So x equals 2. Alright, now what we have to do is, we have to plug this 2 back into this first equation, so y equals 6x plus 2, and solve for y. So if y is equal to 6x plus 2 and x is 2, it becomes y is equal to 12 plus 2. Y is equal to 14. So all we have to do now is multiply x and y. So if y equals 14 and x equals 2, that's just 14 times 2, which is 28. And that's your answer. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to show your support. These videos take a lot of effort to make, and I would really appreciate it. So